Hey everyone, it's Tony, and I have a really cool video for you today. So if any of you have seen my videos in the past where I did talks at conferences, specifically security conferences like DEF CON's Lockpicking Village, KernelCon, and a few others, one of the major talks I've always given is on key duplication. And it usually centers around two different ways to do that. One is 3D printing, and then the other one is with molding and casting a key. And I got reached out to by Rob from Covert Instruments. And if you follow their site at all, they have a section on the website called The Vault. And in The Vault, they use that to tease new products that are going to be releasing soon. And one of the products that they've had on that for a while is called the Replicant. And what the Replicant is a key molding and casting system, an all-in-one self-contained system that you can fit in your pocket and carry with you everywhere. So Rob reached out and asked if I would be willing to do a video to kind of talk about what it is and just show what the Replicant is, how it works, and we're gonna get into it and actually use the Replicant here, put it together, show you how it comes and how it works. I am getting this before the product's released, so I don't have any information on release date, and I have no information on what the final product cost is going to be. But what I'm gonna show you is pretty close to what the final product will be, minus a few caveats, which I'll go over with you in the video. So to get started, let me show you what you'll get if you order the Replicant once it's released. It's gonna come to you in a package like this, a baggie. It may not be this exact baggie, but everything you're gonna need is gonna come in here. So let's open it up and dig inside and see what there is. So let's pull out the main body of it first. So we have this case right here. Now, one thing you'll notice about this case is everything you're going to need is going to fit inside this footprint. Let me bring this in so there's a little contrast to it. So right now, this doesn't look like much. It just looks like a little box, but let's get into this here in a second. I'll open it up, but let me show you what's in the rest of the bag first. You're also gonna get one of these tubes, and inside this tube is 10 ingots of woods metal. If you're not familiar with woods metal, it's just a very low melting point metal that doesn't take a lot of heat to get it to turn liquid, which is one of the key features you need when doing key duplication. You're also going to get a spoon, and this spoon does a couple different things, but its main purpose is to hold the metal ingot as you heat it up. Now, if any of you had seen the kit that I used to sell on my 3D Locksport website, you'll know that the spoon I recommended was this. Now, look at the size of this thing compared to this. This is amazing. They got this perfect spoon, and it does more than just the spoon. Like I said, I'll get into that here in a second. But this is what I used to carry around with me. And what I would carry that around with is inside, if I ever wanted to do key duplication, everything I needed to do that, let me just get this over here. I carried around in this giant zipper pouch made for like pens and pencils. And now everything you're gonna need is gonna fall inside this tiny little box, which is amazing. This just fits in your front pocket, back pocket, shirt pocket, anywhere. Okay, so we'll continue on what you're gonna get next. Next, you're gonna get a package of clay. Now, the clay I got is Sculpey 3, and it's just this green color. But one thing I wanna touch on is your Sculpey clay, or the clay you get, may not necessarily be Sculpey brand, and it won't have this color. So Rob said the final color is going to be tan or natural. So if you know what like the natural color of clay is. And they tested a ton of clays. And the reason they're choosing to give you an uncolored clay more than anything else is that after a lot of testing, they realized that these colored clays, when you touch them a lot, actually start to stain your skin. So you might start to pick up these colors on your skin, where with the natural clay, that doesn't happen. So you'll get clay. Just know that yours will probably be of a tan or natural color. And the last thing you're gonna get inside the package is this band. Now this band is kind of the same material if you're familiar with like cause bracelets, like cancer bracelets, or things along those lines. The kind of bracelet that expands and goes over your wrist like this. That's pretty much what this is, but you're not meant to wear it like a bracelet. This helps hold everything together. And again, I'll get into what that is. Now, there are two things you're going to need that are not included with the purchase when you buy it. And the first thing is a mini Bic lighter, or a Bic Mini. And this is just the smaller version of the Bic lighters. Now, the reason this isn't included is because shipping regulations of flammable items are kind of crazy. And it's just a real pain, especially if you're shipping international, to ship flammable products like this. So instead of doing that, this is something you can pretty much pick up at any gas station or big box store like a Walmart in your area. I got this at my local gas station. It was like 99 cents or something less than that. I don't remember. So you'll be able to pick this up on your own. And the last thing you're going to need to get on your own is some baby powder or talcum powder. So this is a travel size one I bought, and this is what went inside that pencil case I showed you, but I still put it inside a baggie because if I ever squeeze this, you can see that, well, you probably can't see it, but a little bit of talcum powder will shoot out even if you have this thing closed. So this is one more thing that you'll need to get on your own. I bought mine, I think, on Amazon so I could get this travel size, but you can buy a much larger bottle of this at any big box store or like a pharmacy store, like a CVS pharmacy or a Walgreens, something like that. They'll all have this. So these are the things that you'll need to buy on your own right here. And these are the things that come in the kit. So we're gonna break this all down now. We're gonna take it apart and I'm gonna show you exactly what's inside of it and then how to put this all together. Okay, so let's open up the case and see what's inside. I'm gonna move this stuff off to the side here. So this case has a really nice texture on it from the injection molding process. They specifically put this texture on to help you grip it as you pull it apart. So you're gonna open this up and there's gonna be two halves to this holder or the external case. They are identical in every way. And inside the case, there's gonna be two items. One is this right here, and I'll get into what that is here in a second. And then the other thing is the actual clamshell itself. So this is the clamshell. If I open it up here, this is what the inside looks like. And they put a lot of thought into what this clamshell is and how it works. So let's go over some of the key features here. So this is the section where you put your clay at. And you would have this preloaded before you, if you were gonna use this on an actual job, you would already have the clay preloaded in here with the talcum powder on, but I'll get into that here more in a second. But the other thing are these little squares right here. And what the purpose of those is so you can carry some metal ingots with you. So if I open up the metal ingots, at the very top, you're gonna see this little piece of foam, and that's just so you don't have this during the shipping process. But you're gonna take out 3 of the ingots, and they fit perfectly right here at the end. So when you fold this whole thing up, it closes shut and it'll securely hold your metal ingots with you when you go. And then you can just open this up and take out a metal ingot when you're ready to do work. I would suggest when you're actually doing the clamshell work, you take all the ingots out just because it's gonna be easier and you don't have to try to close it with the ingots in there. But that's what this is. It holds the 3 metal ingots. And then another feature about this that you'll notice when you get it that isn't immediately apparent is there's a little indent on both sides of the clamshell here. And what this indent is for an unreleased product, which is going to be a mini key gauge. So a key depth gauge that you put your key through to find out what each of the cuts is will be something that will recess down into this hole. So you'll actually have a key gauge with you at the same time that you have your key casting set with the replicant. What this is it's a 3-in-1 tool. Now, the cool thing about this is everything else you see here is injection molded. This is not. This is milled metal. So not plastic, it's metal. And it serves a couple purposes. One idea for what it is when you put your clay in here, you want to get this nice and smooth. You'll actually use this to, like a rolling pin, to roll your clay out and get it flat, okay? That's one thing you can use it for. That's not necessary. You don't have to do that, but it's a really cool feature of this. It was designed specifically to do that. Another cool feature is you'll notice this little slit here at the end. And on the end of the spoon, you'll see this little tab. And the whole point of this is for you to put the spoon in to hold a longer handle, because in the end, what you're gonna do is put a metal ingot in here, and then you're gonna hold it over a flame to start melting it. So this gets your fingers further away from the flame and actually insulates it. You'll notice that this metal kind of feels cool to the touch. It'll actually insulate from the heat that's coming off this. So that's another feature. And the last feature, which is absolutely ingenious because otherwise it's a pain in the butt, is if you unscrew the bottom of this, it's milled out on the inside, and this is meant to hold your talcum powder. So you'll always have your release agent, because that's what this is used for, on you in this. And this doesn't hold a ton, but you don't need a ton. So let's put this all together as a single package and show you what it would look like if you were gonna go on a job with it or carry it around. So I'm gonna get all this stuff out of the way, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to load up the spoon handle / roller with some talcum powder. Now, one of the features of the spoon is it has these little pour spouts on it, but this can also be used to put talcum powder in and slowly pour it in here if you'd like. Now, there's a couple caveats to that. One, if your bottle doesn't unscrew like mine, the lid snaps on because it has this ability to open and close like that. You're not gonna be able to unscrew this and scoop powder out, right? So no matter what, you're probably gonna need something else to put the powder in. So here's what I'm gonna suggest you do. And I haven't tested this yet. I'm doing this live with you guys, but we'll figure it out. If I were you, I'd take just a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be printer paper, but that's what this is. Any piece of paper, and it also doesn't have to be this big. Fold it in half and put a crease in it. Okay? Now you can use this one of two ways. What I'm gonna do first off is I'm gonna take some talcum powder and I'm just gonna put it right here on the paper, like that. I'm not gonna put a ton because I don't need a lot to demonstrate, okay? And then from this, you can actually use the spoon to scoop up talcum powder, just like that. Oh, shook it too much. And then drop it down inside like this, okay? That's one option you can do. The other option is if you don't want to use the spoon, let me kind of bring this together again, is just to use the paper like a funnel. So I'm going to pinch this end together a little more and just put it at the end like this. It's going to be kind of hard to see in the video. And then just slowly start shaking this down. I'm sorry if it's shaking the camera too, but I'm going to load as much in here as I can without overfilling it. Because again, like I said, it doesn't hold a ton. And I actually probably put too much in because there's threads in there. So I'm going to shake some of that back out. Okay. And then I'll just take the rest of this talcum powder and move it out of the way. And then I'm going to just clean this off here real quick. And because it's metal, nothing sticks to it. Whereas with plastic, it'd be much more porous. So again, the fact that this is metal makes it much nicer. And then I'm going to go ahead and screw the cap back on the end. And now I have a secure way to carry talcum powder with me without it getting spilled everywhere. And if you notice, the thread on this cap is long. Now, at first you're gonna be like, oh my God, I'm unscrewing this thing forever. But what you need to realize is because it's so long, you don't have to worry about it just unthreading itself randomly or the powder starting to work its way out. So it's actually a feature that's that long, and it makes it super nice, and you don't have to worry about powder all over your bag or your pocket. One other thing I didn't touch on, the reason they don't ship the talcum powder with it is honestly the idea of shipping a mystery white powder, because they're not going to ship you a giant bottle. They'd probably ship you, a small baggie of it, and white powder in a baggie through the United States Postal System, that's a little sketchy. And again, this is super inexpensive. So that's one of the reasons that they're not going to ship this along with it. Okay, so I got the roller all ready to go, the spoon holder, and the talcum powder holder. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back inside the shell like so. Next, I'm going to take my clamshell, and I'm going to load it with 3 metal ingots. And then I'm going to close that up. Okay, just like that. This goes inside the case as well. And then I'm going to put the top of the case on. Oh, I put it on backwards. Just like that. And now that's all nice and compact in there. Now here's where it gets really cool. Take your band, and I do it on the side that has the small divots here. And I'm just gonna put it over like this, just on the end, just to have it sitting there. And the entire shape of this is specifically made so that the spoon will fit into this area. So put the spoon with the bowl side down into this divot, just like this. Here, let me move this over into the middle of the camera. There we go. And it's long enough that it reaches to the other side. And there's these two little cutouts that specifically are cut out so that the pouring spouts fit in there. And I'm just gonna put the band over the middle. And you'll notice that there's a cutout here as well for the band to go down into. I'm gonna flip it around to the other side. And this is exactly the size meant to fit a small Bic lighter. So I'm gonna put the mini Bic in there, and I'm gonna put the band over the top of it. And now, this is my full key molding and casting clamshell set that's no larger than the size of a pack of cigarettes, or if you don't smoke and don't know how big a pack of cigarettes is, it's about the same size as possibly a battery bank or an external hard drive. So it's all in this nice, convenient little setup here. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean up the talcum powder that I did here, get this out of the way, then we'll actually use this and show you how it all works. Okay, let's get into how to actually use this thing. So I'm gonna take it apart real quick. First, I'll just take the lighter out the top. I'm gonna set that right here. I'll take the spoon out of the bottom and set it right here. And then I'm just gonna take the band and put it off to the side. Honestly, if I was doing this in the field, I would just take this band and put it on my wrist so I don't lose it. It's an inconspicuous black band on my wrist. So, one thing I didn't mention in the last part of the video that I wanna talk about here real quick is when you take your case apart, which I'll do here real quick, on each side, there's these holes, and they're quite large. And what they're made for is you're gonna hold your clamshell inside a holder just like this. And you'll have your spoon inside your spoon holder, okay? And you're gonna be pouring the hot metal down into the clay. The problem is that if you mess up and spill or overflow it or something like that, the metal's gonna run down the sides, and it's gonna end up in the bottom of the holder. If this hole wasn't here, you're gonna have to try to get in there and like scrape out this way only and like scrape it off the bottom, which is a pain. The hole in the bottom lets the metal either come out or it gives you easier access to kind of scrape it out in case that metal does go down. I just wanted to touch on that real quick because I thought it was just a clever little addition to something. You know, it's awesome when someone takes a product and goes that extra little step of, oh, here's a problem that might arise. Let's modify our product to solve that problem, just in case. So I think that's pretty cool that they did that. So let's get into how this all now comes together. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take the clamshell out of the holder. I'll leave the spoon holder in there for now. I'm gonna open it up. I'm going to remove the metal ingots and set them off to the side. And then I'm gonna open up my clay. Now, these are pretty good sized cavities on here. So what I'm gonna suggest is you're gonna use about, if the clay comes separated like this, I think this is a 2-ounce package of clay, which is what you're going to get from them. I would suggest you're gonna use about half of the clay, okay? You're gonna need 1 full bar for sure. And then you're gonna need about half of the other one, like that. So 1.5 bars of clay. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna break it in half, or as close to half as possible. It doesn't need to be perfect, okay? And then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna break it in half as well. And I'm gonna have 2 different kind of balls of clay here. And I'm gonna work it together like this, soften it up a bit, and work it into kind of a just elongated shape like this. And just for now, I'm just gonna stick it on that side, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here and just stick it on this side, just like that, okay? Then I'm gonna work to kind of spread it out just a little bit. I'm not really pressing down as much as I am kind of pressing across and just trying to spread it. I don't wanna push down too much yet. I just wanna spread it out. And I'm not trying to get it to the edges per se yet. I'm just trying to get it spread out. just like that. Okay. Then I want to make sure that the clay, when looking from the side, is sticking up above the edges. And I'll show you why here in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the spoon holder / rolling pin, and I'm going to take some of the baby powder, talcum powder out of the back. And I'm just going to put a little bit on my hands. And I'll show you why here in a second. Just a very small amount like that. You do not have to do this. I'm just choosing to do this because I think it helps out a little bit. If you've ever baked before, you know that you need to flour your work surface and the rolling pin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this talcum powder and I'm going to get some on the roller, just like this, and I'm just going to work it up and down. This just stops the clay from sticking to the roller as I roll it out. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in the middle and I'm going to roll towards the back. I'm not pressing hard at first because I'm just trying to spread it out, and I'm going to roll it towards the front. And it's okay that a little squirts out the top or starts coming out the top. We're going to need that here in a second anyways. So I'm just going to roll this out. And what this does is, because of the way the rolling pin is designed, it's the same, it rides along these the bars of the side of the clamshell. So it doesn't let you push the clay too far down below that line. It just makes it perfectly level with the sides of the clamshell. So I did it on that side. And I'm going to do it on this side now. Again, I'm not pressing too hard at the first roll. And then I press harder as I roll away because I want to flatten this out like that. But then I'll come back and just make sure that we're worked down into the corners. But I don't want to go over the edges of the clamshell. So if I do, I'll push some of it forward, not down. I'm going to push it back into the middle, roll it that way, roll it back this way, and then roll this out just like that. Okay? Now you can do this by hand with your thumbs, but what this does is it makes sure that it's nice and level and you don't accidentally have too much pressed down in one area. So the next thing I'm going to do is using my thumb across the top, because if we look at a key, all we really need is the bitting side of the key. We don't need a whole lot of the bow. We're going to need something to grab onto, but we don't need a ton of it. So you'll see when I press or lay the key in here, I can see right about where the top of the bow is. I want to press down there with my thumb to make a divot, which kind of becomes a funnel in the clay. So I'm going to just kind of press right here, and I'm going to press upwards and thin this clay out towards the top. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and just kind of make it a ramp that goes up into the clay, and then this thins out towards the end. Okay, you can take this excess clay off if you want. I think it's smart to leave it because it kind of helps create like walls to hold any excess metal that might be left behind. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the end off the spoon holder again. And I'm going to tap a little powder onto both sides of the clay. Just like that. And just like that. And this is a release agent so that A, the key doesn't stick to the clay, and B, the clay doesn't stick to itself. So we're just going to take this and we're going to just rub it around. I'm not pressing down at all. I'm just dragging my finger over the top. I do not want to shove the powder down into the clay. I just want to put a thin layer over all the clay. Make sure you get it on all parts of the clay, otherwise it will stick to itself and you will not cast the way you want it to. Okay? Then I'm going to take the key and I'm going to place the key in a way that I make sure all the bitting is on this level part of the clay. Okay? Just like that. And I'm going to give it a small, soft press down, but I'm going to press at the bow and at the tip at the same time. Just a slight press. I'm not pressing it hard down in the clay. I just want to make it so it kind of sticks in the clay a little bit. Just like that. And then I'm going to take this end and I'm going to fold it over on itself, just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to pinch down hard. I'm going to squeeze really tight all the way around. Now, if you have squeeze out of clay on the side, you can use the sharp point of the spoon to get in there and dig any of that extra clay out that you need to. Okay? And you'll see at the top here how this opens up. It gives us access to pour down into. So I'm going to make sure that this is seated down in. I'm squeezing up and down just to make sure it's got a nice tight fit and we're getting a good impression. Then I'm going to lift up to separate. And you can see we got a good impression here on this side. And you can, most importantly, it's the bitting and the warding cutouts. Now on this side, you don't want to press the key down into the clay. And if I grab the bow and I start lifting up, what's going to happen is it's going to press the tip of the key down into the clay. And if I press with my thumb this way, it's going to be better because what's going to happen is I'm going to maybe press the bow down into the clay a little bit more. And that's not as dire. And as long as you put enough release agent in, it's not going to stick that well. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of press down quickly and flick it out of there. Okay? And you can see on this side, we also got good bitting indentation. Okay, now it is completely plausible that you're going to have an airflow problem here, right? We're trying to get liquid metal all the way down to the bottom. So one thing you can do, if you choose, is use the back of the spoon. Okay, sorry about that. When I was recording, I realized that my microphone died there, so that's why I cut away. What I was saying at the time was, if you want to make a flute or a passageway for the air to get out, you can use the tip of your spoon to do that. And that helps if the air goes down in and gets trapped at the bottom, that it has a place to sneak out. But again, make sure you're doing it on the non-bitting side. So this is all set to go now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this up. I'm going to bend back this area a little bit so it has a funnel to go down into. I'm going to put it back into the case so it holds it for me and I don't have to keep my hands here as I pour molten metal onto the situation. I'm going to put the spoon in here and then I'm going to heat this up with the lighter. Keep your thumb away from the metal once you start this because the lighter will get hot. Let me move this over here a little bit. And the tip of the flame should be enough to get it going. Again, this metal melts at a very low melting point. So it just needs a little bit of time to start heating up. And once the spoon itself heats up, it'll start melting the metal as well. There it goes. You can see the cube start to shrink down in. You know, it takes about 30, maybe 40 seconds to fully melt the cube. The one thing you want to make sure of is you don't overheat this metal just due to the fact that it can release some fumes that you don't want to be breathing in. So you just want to melt it just enough to get it fully melted, but you do want to make sure it's fully melted and that you don't leave one solid chunk in there by accident. Okay, that should be good. Now I'm going to bring this over here. I'm not going to hold it. I'm just going to move my hand out of the way and I'm going to pour. And then I'm going to set the spoon down like this. And I'm going to tap a little bit to make sure that it gets all the way down in. This may not be necessary, it just helps. It helps work the air out if there's any air in there. And the cool thing about the spoon holder is because it's got a flat bottom, you can set it like this instead of having to stick a hot spoon down on something that might damage the surface that you're setting it on. So we need to let this go ahead and cool off, and then we can go from there. And if we keep a look, let's see if I can zoom on this, you'll start to see the metal actually change what it looks like. Like when I tap it, you can still kind of see a little bit of it moving. And this black stuff is just soot off the bottom of the spoon. That's all that is. Okay, it's already starting to solidify. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds here, and then we'll take a look at it. So the metal will still be warm that you just poured, so keep that in mind. But I think it's probably solidified by now. So I'm going to pull the clamshell out of the holder, and we're going to open this up and see what we got. And there we go. We got a beautiful mold of the key. And you can see a little bit, let me find something to point with here. I guess I'll use the spoon. We got a little bit of flashing into the spout I did for the air, which is fine. That's not a problem whatsoever. So let me just feel this here. Okay, it's good. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this off, and now we have a duplicate of the key. Now, one other cool thing about this spoon, let me check the heat here. Okay, we're good. Is if you look, it's got these serrations. Whoa, focus there. It's got serrations on the side. And the guys at Covert Instruments thought, this is a good way to come up here and try to get the extra flashing off. So I just cut that little bit of flashing off there. You saw that. And if you look through the rest of your key here, you might have some spots that need to come off. And this little bit of serration, it's not super sharp, helps out a ton with that. So this key is still pretty warm, but we're gonna give it a try here. Let's start by seeing if it fits inside the keyway, which it does. And now let's see if it'll open. There we go. We got a duplicated working key. So this is a duplicate of this key right here. And let's see if we can line it up. There we go. Perfect duplication using the Replicant by Covert Instruments. Again, this thing is totally awesome. So now that I'm done, to clean up, it's pretty simple. I'm going to just get the clay out. I pull that right out. And I pull this right out. And what you would want to have is a paper towel. Works really well because all you got to do is get this clay off. And because of the plastic is smooth and not textured on the inside, it comes right out of there. And honestly, this powder that's in there, if you blow on it or just get a wet cloth, it'll mostly come out, so it won't be a problem. You'd want to clean this all up with a cloth, same with this. But I'm going to put the extra ingots in that I didn't use. Close this back up. I can put this back here and this back here. And then close this all the way up. Like so. I can place the spoon in. And I'll take the band off my wrist. I'm going to put the band on. And then grab the lighter. Slide the lighter underneath the band. And I'm good to go. So there is duplicating a key using the Replicant from Covert Instruments. So I'm going to clean up a little bit here, and I'll come back and finish up with what I have to say. Okay, so a few things I want to touch base on after the fact. When you're done with this, first of all, the spoon is going to still have some soot on the back of it. You can see that. The nice thing about this metal is, if you just take a paper cloth, paper towel, all that soot wipes right off of there. You may also have some leftover residual metal. Again, because of the way the spoon is made and how shiny it is, if you stick the cloth down into there and just move it, you can see I can take the excess metal right out of there. So it cleans up super nice, almost to the point of it being brand new. Let me just clean up some of this excess stuff that just fell. Maybe I'm making more of a mess because it's all in the same paper towel. So I would say have a couple paper towels during your cleanup process and you're going to be set to go. So I go ahead and take the spoon, put it back on here. Put the band back on. And put this back on. So inherently, key duplication in this method is a bit messy because you have a powder, you have clay, you have soot from the flames. It just is what it is, and it's something you need to be aware of when doing this. Now, you saw how long it took me to put this all together. What I want to point out here is if I were going to use this on a job, I would be at my office or wherever I'm going to be, I would take everything apart quickly. I would take this out. I would leave the metal ingots in. I would get my clay ready, fill everything in, put the powder on the clay, get that all 100% set up and ready to go. And then I would close it back up with the clay inside. I wouldn't push it out at the top yet. I would leave that flat, close this up, put it back in here, and then I'll be set to go when I get to my job. Because if you have everything set up and ready to go, you only need like 10 to 20 seconds with the key alone to press it together like I showed you to get the impression. You take the key back out, return the key. You can leave with this and add the metal at a later time if you really want to. It doesn't have to be done right there on site. Okay, so a couple things I want to touch base on also with this. There will be refill kits in the future available for $15, I believe is the price that Rob said. That'll include another package of clay, so a 2-ounce package of clay, and it'll also come with another tube of 10 ingots, okay? So that will be available at some point. There will also be replacement bands in the future, so you can get different bands if they break. If you want to just get one to wear as a bracelet, I suppose you could do that too. And it sounds like they'll be available in different colors, not just black, that you'll be able to choose. That'll be cool if you want to do it for organization. You could put like a green band or whatever color is available on to be like, this one's ready to go. Another option is you could match your belt ranking system on Reddit if you wanted to. Every time you upgrade, you get a new band, and your old ones you can just put around your lockpicking area or as a wristband kind of thing. It sounds like there will also be replacement spoons in the future. So if you bend it, lose it, something like that, there will be a way to get a hold of those. And also the one thing I also want to touch base on again is that this is woods metal, okay? So it does have some stuff inside of it that is considered toxic. So you want to keep that in mind, that if you are messing around with this, don't be snacking and eating while you're touching this. You want to make sure you wash your hands afterwards. It's no different than if you shoot firearms. There can be lead in the firearms. You want to make sure you wash your hands before you do anything afterwards. Same thing with this. I have to say, I know a lot of hobbyists watch my video. A lot of lock sporters watch my videos. This is an enterprise level product. I'm not kidding. This is the kind of thing that looks like it was made for James Bond. It goes in your pack, it goes in your pocket, it's tiny, compact, and everything I need, if I were to preload this with clay, everything I need is right here, ready to go at a moment's notice. I can grab this, load the clay, throw it in my pocket, throw it in my backpack, and I'm set to go. So that's what I wanted to talk about with the Covert Instruments Replicant. Again, keep an eye out on the website when they're available. They are not on the website as far as I know yet. If you go to the vault, you can sign up with your email to be notified as soon as it's released. But that's all I have for you in this video. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below. I'm so close, so close to my 1,000 subscriber goal. I think I have less than 20 to go to reach my 1,000 subscriber goal. So I'd appreciate it if you take the time to subscribe to the video. I'd also appreciate it if you could like it, give it a thumbs up. That helps the algorithm. More people can see this and learn about the replicant. And until next time, have a great day.